Any crack?
I stayed right under 0.7. I'm all right.
So yesterday, as you know, if you've watched this show for the last month, there's a prevailing theory by this idiot right here that Baker Mayfield might possibly play for the Browns again.
Yes.
And especially now that we're talking about Deshaun Watson could be out for the year. Okay, how do you sell your fan base on Jacoby, here we go for 17 games. Let's get this done. But yesterday, my prevailing idiot theory seemed to take
Stop
a real.
beating yourself up like that.
Well, no, listen. I wanted this to perhaps come to fruition.
I don't think, actually, I'll defend you. I don't think your theory's been shot
Okay,
down.
well, let me first give the theory, and then I'll get your thought.
Yes.
So my theory, obviously, was that Baker could play because he's an emergency backup. They're still paying him. Why would they just cut him and get nothing for their $19 million spent? Why not keep him as an insurance policy? But yesterday came news, and we broke it on this show with our breaking news card.
I saw it.
That Baker Mayfield and the Browns have come to this mutual agreement that he's not going to show up for minicamp, which is next week. I believe it begins next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Normally there's a $30,000 fine for not showing up per day.
Right, because it's the mandatory
It's the
one.
mandatory.
Right, yeah.
So what's going on now, the OTAs are voluntary.
Right.
So as soon as I heard that the Browns and Baker's camp came to an agreement that he's not going to show up and there will be no fines, I immediately thought, well, you know, that ship is not only sailed, it's fallen off the edge of the earth now.
Yeah.
I still think there's a 0.1% chance.
I continue to disagree that there's any chance that this is going to happen. However, I will defend you and say I don't think this ends it because...
Wait a minute. You just said it is ended. 0% chance means it's ended.
But I don't think...
Oh, you don't think this is what killed it? You just think it was
I
never
thought it was never happening. I don't think...
That's not actually defending me, but go ahead.
No, I don't think this proves us right. I don't think this proves us right.
All right.
I still think that's... If you believe it's possible, you should still believe it's possible. I choose not to believe it's possible.
I just believe it's a far less possible.
However, based on the facts that I have, and I don't, like, if I knew for sure that the Browns did not want him there in any circumstance, if I knew that for sure, I wouldn't say this. So I will admit that.
And we really don't know that.
We don't know that. But what I would say is this is another strike against Baker, because if Baker wants to change that reputation, if Baker wants to show, as you've said, as Tim Coucher said, as a lot of the former players have said, go in there, work hard, show that you're mature, and get yourself to another team. If Baker was willing to show that maturity, if I was Baker in this situation, I would have called the Browns before this week, and I would have said, hey, I know we've had some bad blood here. Here's what I'd like to do. I want to be out of here. You want me to be out of here. I think the best way for that to happen is for me to come to mandatory minicamp. I'm going to work my ass off. I'm not going to say anything out of line. I won't even talk to the media if you don't want me to.
Okay.
I'm going to come in, I'm going to work, and I'm going to do it. And it's for the best of both of us. I can't imagine that if he did it said it that way, why would the Browns tell him no?
We just don't know that he said that.
Again, I don't know. Maybe he did, and maybe the Browns said, no, we don't want you here. It's possible.
Pure speculation.
But,
maybe the Browns said, we'd like to have you here, and Baker said no.
Right. So I think to some degree it once again reinforces a level of immaturity.
But you could also say, though, you could argue that he might be saying, I don't want to be a distraction, and he might be making the mature move by saying, I'm not going to come in there and make it all about me, because you know that's what it's going to become. It's going to become a media circus if he's standing on the sidelines. We're going to be watching every body movement. We're going to see who he's talking to and all that stuff.
That doesn't create any problems for the players.
I agree. I mean, I agree.
That's all that matters.
And by the way,
and the players have all said they'd be fine with it.
Exactly.
I've never been totally out on your Baker thing. I said a long time ago, I think they have him under contract. I agree. I think that the fan base can take it. I think the players can take it. They're professionals. I think it's the best thing he could do for himself if given the opportunity. And it'd be the best thing for the Browns. And so I know everyone's worried.
When do they ever do the best thing for the Browns?
I know. And
when does he ever show maturity?
And people say, what if he ends up doing really well and the fans freak out?
Okay, a good problem to have.
And isn't Watson still a better? Wouldn't you still rather have him as a quarterback? And most fans would as soon as he plays. So
now, unless they go 8-0 and he's throwing for 5 touchdowns and no picks a game,
and that's not happening.
It's not happening.
You see, I come out of it a little bit different. I will agree that I was in the camp of saying, man, there ain't no way he coming back here to play no games for the Browns. Right. But I will say this. I wouldn't be completely opposed to it if Deshaun Watson is suspended for a whole year, I'm not completely opposed to it. You know why? Because that gives Baker a whole year and Deshaun Watson is not in the mix. So there's no possibility of a comparison. He's here for the year. It is what it is. Deshaun Watson is not here. He's not showing
Clean
back
break.
up. It's a clean break. We good. He goes somewhere else. You do your thing. But if it's anything less than that, I can't have the comparison because here's what the reality of it is. Man, the fan base is still split.
It is split.
Take a look at
Not 50-50.
No,
though.
well, we don't know because nobody's
Well,
taken an
yeah.
official scientific poll, but I got to tell you.
it's split. There's a lot of people that stand strongly on one side
Let's
or
be
the other.
honest. There's a racial component.
There's a huge racial component
There-
of it.
there definitely
and
is.
So let's talk about see if we can get to this.
Keeping it
The
real.
racial component will be if Baker Mayfield steps back into the saddles and he goes 6-2 in 8 games. I'm gonna tell you what. You know Baker Mayfield is more popular than Bernie Kosar, right?
No, he's
I
not.
don't
No,
know.
not even
Hold
close.
on, hold on,
Not at this
hold on.
point.
No.
A year ago, maybe.
At
No,
some
no.
point,
No.
some point.
I was alive and I was a fan and I remember it. In no way.
But Jay,
No way.
Jay, the young fans don't care about Bernie.
Well, that's just because they don't know.
They-
I can't say he was better than Otto Grant.
At one point in time, people would say, this dude is the best thing we've had. We not talk. You couldn't say
Young minds, my
you
friend.
could not have said a word about Baker.
Wait, did you say Baker better than Bernie or more popular?
Popular.
No.
But watch this. When Bernie got
Dude, this city,
when Bernie
you're
got
too
moved,
young to know that.
No. I mean,
Right, but
listen,
if the young fans old,
I'm
But they're way more old
I'm
fans.
40.
Well, listen, Baker,
Watch.
the young people don't know
I'm
Bernie.
40,
Right.
I'm 40 years old. So if you're
Yeah.
talking about Bernie, you like 9, 10, 11, 12 years old.
Yeah.
When Bernie got moved to Dallas, there was people that was upset, right?
He didn't get moved to Dallas.
When he got cut. When he got cut, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
When he got cut, when Baker Mayfield, when they came out and they said they was going after Deshaun Watson, I have never heard
Well, there was no social media then. It was
uproar
a
like
different
that.
world.
That-
It's
that-
a tough
Mike, help
comparison.
me out here.
No, it's true. I mean, first of all, there are just generations and generations of Bernie Kosar fans. It's just a numbers game. There's way more old people, Browns fans in Cleveland, just mathematically, than there are young people. But you're right, there's a very strong contingent, particularly of younger people. But there's no one over 50 who's caping for Baker Mayfield over Bernie
No,
Kosar.
not a
right now.
chance.
Not
Not a chance.
Here's what I say. When Bernie Kosar moved on, this is a fact.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield, when you look at the national leads, they lead with Baker. If you skip Shannon, they lead with Baker. If you
think
go,
we're getting
Totally
off-
different
the
time,
debate
though.
with Bernie, though, is getting us off topic,
Yeah, it
I
is.
think.
Yes.
I think
And-
that's
and-
getting us off topic because
Yeah.
the bottom line
But
is
that's a
Baker,
big stretch,
Baker
in my mind.
does still have his support.
He
right?
absolutely
He
has
has his support, and if he did play 8 games and played great, there would be a segment of the fan base, even some
60%.
I don't think it's that high personally, but whatever. We don't know. Even some that clearly think they made the right decision here would say, well, they're 6-2. I don't want to mess
Why
with
are we
it.
gonna change it?
However, that's not a reason not to do it.
No,
Ultimately.
look, the organization made the decision that they are upgrading the most important position on the football team. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But what I don't think they carefully weighed were all of the options.
Right.
They thought, no criminal charges, get him. Get him.
You
Yeah,
would
right.
hope it would have been better than that, a little more strenuous. As
Hey,
far
let's
as
see
the-
how it shakes out before. People are condemning the Browns already. I think that's weak. Let's see how it all shakes out.
Well,
before
they're
we
condemning
condemn
the
them.
Browns because the history of
Yeah,
the decisions
they've earned
that
it.
this franchise has made, particularly with
Fine.
this owner,
If this were the
have
Steelers,
almost always
we'd
blown
have
up.
Half
on
the
them.
teams in the league wanted Deshaun Watson.
If they go to the
Would they
AFC
have crushed those
Championship
teams
game,
as much?
if they go to the
I don't
AFC
know.
Championship game,
Nobody's
no
gonna
one's
care.
talking about that.
And
That's the other thing.
no.
And even
If
even
Watson
those
could-
prejudiced Baker fans or who are pro Baker and because of that racial reason, all of a sudden they're going to become open-minded liberals once Deshaun Watson starts lacing it
If
down.
Watson consistently, not just this year, it's not the win or loss on this trade is not about just this year. It's about the long term of his time here. If he consistently goes deep in the playoffs, and if he certainly wins a World Series,
that'd be
If he
amazing.
wins the
If
World
he wins the
Series,
World Series, he's Bo Jackson.
a Super Bowl,
He's the
if he wins
greatest
the
to
World
ever
Series,
do
yeah,
it.
that'll be amazing.
the Guardians got
By-
one.
By the way,
You know what? That's what it will
brain is
take
yes.
for me to love this trade.
that's right. And by the,
The
way,
Guardians win a World Series with Deshaun Watson pitching.
Yes.
He's going to Bo Jackson it.
Then I'm good.
Hey,